This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we're dealing with a Bosch dishwasher that won't drain. We got a bunch of water left in there. So we're going to go over some things you could do that will help it to drain again. Usually there's just something caught somewhere in the mechanism, like in the air gap. So I've removed the cap on the air gap. I'm just looking at it as it drains. And I'm getting kind of a dribble. When it goes to drain, you should see like a maybe 2-inch column of water shooting straight up after you remove the little cap. So I'm going to try a couple things. I'm removing the air gap by spinning it off just to see what's going on. I'm going to test a couple more things. So I secured it back where it was. And I'm going to press the two drain buttons at the same time. It'll show on your console which ones to press. It'll say cancel/drain. And pressing those activates the drain system and resets the computer. When you close the door, it should drain. Again, this one is draining, but just not very much volume. So I got a suspicion there's something in the way. It should be up as high as where my finger is. It's just kind of dribbling out. So in the time allotted for it to drain, since it's kind of anemic, it's not draining all the water out and the dishes aren't getting very clean. Usually that means there's an obstruction. It could mean that the drain pump is starting to fail, but it's pretty rare. I'm going to drive something down, long screwdriver down into that hole to see if that helps. Maybe there's a seed or something caught in there. So still just kind of dribbling though. That looks a little bit better. So we're going to try a few different tricks to get this thing going. These Bosch dishwashers are really good, quiet, dependable, clean good. Sometimes they do have these drain problems though. So I'm going to use a turkey baster to get out any remaining water here in this area called the sump. Because I want to look down in where the drain impeller is. I want to make sure that there's nothing caught that's preventing the impeller from spinning. So I use a little turkey baster to pull the water out. Here's the sump assembly. To the left is where the drain is. It's hiding underneath this white panel. So I've already removed the screen here and the filter. I'm going to put them back in and then do a little more testing. It looks okay. Just the sump area looks to be free of any debris. Sometimes you'll find like some things caught in there that are just blocking the drain. I'm going to spin off the air gap and I'm going to pull it down into the cabinet and just take the drain hose off of the air gap and have the drain hose go directly into a bucket, or in this case it's just going to be a pitcher, to see what is the volume of water coming out. It should be pretty strong. So I'm disconnecting the hose from the air gap. Here's the air gap in my left hand with the other hose that goes to the garbage disposer. I'm going to look in there and make sure there's nothing. It looks good, nice and clear. I'm going to look in the drain hose and see if I might see something caught in there. It looks good though. Nothing seems to be obviously caught in there. I'm going to put it in this little pitcher and then I'll press the drain cancel command on the dishwasher and just see how the volume of water is coming out into the pitcher. It should be pretty strong. It should look like kind of like a garden hose when you turn it on. And as I'm doing this, what I'll do is I'll also shake the drain hose, and sometimes there's something caught in the drain hose and it'll help to work it loose. It won't get caught in the air gap, it'll just go right into the bucket or pitcher. There we go. So it's pretty good volume of water coming out. The homeowner did mention that a wine glass broke and there was lots of little shards of glass caught down in the sump. And what I notice here when I do this test is that there are little things that I can hear, something metallic or something hard that's falling into the pitcher. And when I drain the pitcher into the sink, I'm noticing that there's lots of little pieces of white plastic and lots of little shards of glass. So I think some pieces of glass got pulled into the pump and the impeller just smashed them, and the broken glass broke off some little pieces of the impeller casing. And I got a suspicion that that load put on the drain pump may have burned it up, so it's not spinning as fast. You can see all this junk that came out. So sometimes you just have stuff caught in there, and when you get the junk out, then your Bosch dishwasher drains great. This one, after all the cleaning and getting all the junk out, still didn't drain as fast as I'd like it to. At the end of the drain cycle, there should be about a cup of water left in the sump, and I had about 2 cups of water. So I think in this case that the drain motor may be damaged or weak from shredding all the glass. So I'm going to be replacing the drain motor, but many times you don't. It's very, very seldom in all the Bosch dishwashers that I've repaired do I ever need to replace the drain pump. It's either a really old machine or it's an unusual case like this where the pump got overloaded doing something it's not supposed to, which is trying to smash into the little shards of glass. Can put too much strain on the pump. But this technique of draining into a bucket or a pitcher and shaking the drain tube is really good for just working loose any junk that might be caught in the drain mechanism. So now we're going to dig a little deeper into the drain system, removing the filter. Use a Torx 15 driver to remove one little screw that covers the impeller of the drain. I'll lift off that cover, and then I'll have access to the impeller. Use my turkey baster to try to get all that water out, and that'll just give me a better look at what's going on. Sometimes when glass gets pulled in over to the right in the sump, you have the inlet for the circulation pump, and sometimes glass will get pulled into the circulation pump impeller. And you can just pull off that little dark gray cover to the right and reach in there with your fingers and grab that shard of glass. Carefully grab it, and then you'll have your circulation pump working again. So we got all the water out. I'm just going to look in there and see how that drain impeller looks. Make sure none of the paddles broke off. So it looks good. You want to be able to either spin it with a screwdriver or with your fingers, and you want to feel that it can move freely. It'll feel a little funny, like it's under spring tension or some kind of magnetic force, and that's actually normal. That's not bad, but it should be able to pretty easily move. I'm going to also lift up on this little rubber one-way valve with my needle nose pliers and pull this thing out to take a look at it. Make sure there's nothing caught in this part of it. Here's the little one-way valve. So the impeller moves pretty good. The impeller does not look damaged, and the gates, the little openings prior to the impeller, do not look obstructed. So everything in the system looks good, but we're still getting, although it's improved, we're still getting somewhat of an anemic response. Maybe I would say 80% of normal, and that could be due to this motor just having been damaged by having too much friction from the glass shards. So I'm just feeling in there with this tool to make sure there's nothing caught underneath the impeller. Seems good. I did notice that there was lots of little pieces of plastic that came out of the drain, and they appear to be the top part of the impeller cover. This part that seemed to get a little bit of damage due to the glass smashing it. I'm going to put this all back together. I'm going to put the cover back in. I'll put that Torx 15 screw in to hold it and give it another test. That cover has to be in place. If you try to run the drain without it, it can't develop the pressure it needs to. The cover does seem to be intact. It just seems that a little bit of its surface has been worn away. Put the filter back in. Tighten that up. Put the lower spray arm back in. Make sure there's nothing caught in there. Just pops in. Dishwasher is really easy to repair. It's so modular. Very few fasteners. So we're going to test that drain system. We're going to press the two drain buttons together. And it all looks good. So we got the air gap assembly put back together. I'm going to reach up and push that back into the sinkhole here, and I'll feel in with my finger so I can index where that air gap is. That helps me to guide it up into the cabinet. And once I got it, I'll push it up in there, and then I'll tighten. Put the gasket back on, tighten the flange that holds it, put the cap back on. There we go. And that's it. And there was definitely an improvement, but still probably only 80% of the efficiency that it should have. So in this case, I will be replacing the drain motor, but I think in my experience that's pretty rare. Usually
it's a good amount of water.
You don't need to. Usually it's just some food or a seed that's obstructing the water flow. So these procedures should get you back where your dishwasher is running again, and pretty easy to do. Don't need many tools. Just need to have the know-how by watching these videos. Gives you the
we had a
procedure.
Of water and got rid of it all.
So we are getting most of the water out, but there's still just a little bit left. So thanks so much for watching this video. Hope it helps you, and please subscribe when you get a chance. Thanks again.